Cinderella. The Cinderella story is something that many people consider timeless. The whole ideology of this film has been ingrained into our culture so heavy that it really speaks to the art of storytelling. Going back and watching Cinderella, you can argue that this movie had a huge influence in the category of fantasy romance for the mainstream. So many generations of women watched this film and was mesmerized by the idea of Prince Charming. Putting that aside, is this movie good today? Well, let's talk about it. It is safe to say that Disney princess movies are not necessarily targeting young boys. These are movies that are predominantly enjoyed by women. The princesses are beautiful, they can sing, and also are super sweet and nurturing in terms of their personalities. Cinderella is not an exception to that. As a kid, Cinderella was not on the top of my movie list at all. Now that I'm older, I feel like these movies hold up incredibly well, and I honestly found tons of enjoyment watching each and every one of them. In terms of the movie itself, the story starts off with telling us Cinderella's backstory. She was the daughter of this wealthy family. When she was young, her mother passed away and we don't really know how. The father gave Cinderella everything she wanted because she was the only child and that's all he really had. Later on, the father remarries to this horrible woman who had daughters herself. Similar to Snow White, they were extremely jealous of Cinderella due to her beauty. The father also dies, and honestly, I think the stepmother did it, but you know, it's Disney, so let's just say he died of stress or sickness. The stepmother pretty much takes over the mansion and makes Cinderella a slave in her own home. They even went to the extent of locking her up in the attic. Wow. This is where our story begins. Cinderella does all the chores day by day, serving the stepmom and the stepdaughters. Again, similar to Snow White, she has a very strong connection to animals, mostly birds and rats. Since they pretty much locked her up in the attic, that's the only social interaction she ever gets. That's terrible. Fast forward a bit. The king is so pressed over having grandchildren that he's pretty much forcing his son to pick a woman to have kids with. That is a crazy amount of pressure. I mean, what if he doesn't even want kids? And they kind of hinted at that during the king's introduction scene. Anyway, in order to find the right woman, the king sends invitations to every woman in the village. Of course, the stepmom and the daughters hear about this and quickly hop on the opportunity. Threatened by Cinderella, they do anything in their power to stop her from going to this ball. Yo, I hated the scene when they ripped Cinderella's dress. That was terrible. But lucky for Cinderella, her fairy godmother came to the rescue, and Cinderella ended up with the prince at the end due to the godmother creating a one-of-one glass slipper that Cinderella lost at the ball. I know that pretty much summarized the story, but let's get into the movie itself. In terms of characters, Cinderella is a beautiful looking character. Again, due to remastering, Cinderella really pops on modern screens, and it looks great. I also really like the look of the stepmother. As terrible as she is, I liked her sense of style and overall look. The two stepdaughters were extremely annoying and I hated seeing them two on screen. But I love the fairy godmother. She is so sweet, and even though she didn't get much screen time, she's the most impactful character in the movie. The standout characters for me were definitely Jack and Gus. They were so funny and the way they talk was just adorable. They offered many funny moments for me, especially the whole play with them trying to avoid Lucifer, the family cat. Very funny moments. The king was also a very funny character. His temper tantrums and outbursts were hilarious. Overall, Cinderella is a great movie with amazing hand-drawn animation. This movie has many things going for it, and it's that classic Disney feel we all know and love. The soundtrack was also beautiful. The standout track for me was definitely A Dream Is What Your Heart Makes. Again, classic Disney. This movie is a classic. There's no denying the cultural impact this movie has. Go watch this. This movie is widely available on every digital platform, but Disney Plus is the preferred option. Thanks for watching.